guys. Ooh, my blouse is a bit lean. Let me just get myself not so lean. It's gonna be lean. It's a big blouse. Oh, no, I show my body like that. It's gonna be a lean one anyway. So good night, good night. I'm gonna wait for some of you all to come and join me in here because this is gonna be an interesting live tonight. I'm hoping that I can have some of you guys join me, like Audrea. I'm just being very careful of who I add to this. And I'm going to really share some nuggets. I might find some people here. I might not, and that's okay. Hi, Yvonne Daly. How you doing? I'm going to turn my phone down because I want this to be really good content. And I want it to be really, really juicy. So, yeah. Right. So for those of us who haven't been on here in the last kind of couple of days, you may have missed that I've been doing this whole series around my marriage and what my marriage has done to me as a person. I'm not here counting regrets. I'm not here laying blame. I'm here telling a story as it occurred, my story. And I always say that if my ex has an issue with how I tell my story, then he's more than welcome to tell his own story. So this is my piece. So basically, I think I went on the journey last night where I went over kind of like, I'm trying to remember where I left off because I'm getting old and I have memory lapse sometimes. So I think I got to the point last night where, let's see. Hi Camila. I think I got to the point last night where we're in the same house and I got the house, right? He made me homeless. I got the house and he was now in my house and the same house he actually tried to prevent me from getting, and the same house that the kids and I became homeless in because of. He now turned up a few weeks later and he was now homeless. And I said, no. I said, under my dead body, am I going to have you in this house to come and stay? And I think for me personally, it was at that point that I started turning. And I think for those of us who haven't watched the last two parts, I really do suggest that you turn back and go and watch part 1 and 2 before you kind of understand the journey I'm on. So my ex-husband got homeless and he wanted to come and move in with me in the same house that he made me homeless from getting with my kids. And it was in that house that things started to shift. It was in that house that we'd gotten married and I started to see him for who he truly was. He would boss me around. And I know for some of you can't imagine anybody bossing me around, but I felt subdued and I felt like I had to be submissive. I felt as though I was not married to an African man, and part of what was required was that I needed to be submissive. I needed to now put my strong self, behind me, and I needed to start encompassing myself into this girl that was submissive. And I struggled. I really struggled because I am a strong woman, and I'm not saying that strength means that you can't be submissive, but I was being asked to be submissive to somebody who wasn't paying the bills, who wasn't even paying for the panties that he was taking off my body. I was being asked to be submissive to a man who wanted to make love to me, but did not know how I bought deodorant, or would come to the house and wanted to eat the most meat, but didn't understand how the meat was bought. And I struggled with that. I think it is safe to say that a man who is contributing to a household is attractive. And I'm not saying that to say that there are not going to be times when one party cannot contribute to the household, and that doesn't mean that you are suddenly not attractive. But in my ex-husband's case, he contributed nothing, not even to his son that he had. He was not fully contributing. And we're in the house, and I remember it was very, very rough. It had been a rough relationship anyway, but it got rougher or even more rough. And it was a lot of fights. It was a lot of quarrels. I remember the police was in and out of the house. I'd call them very often because I was often intimidated. I was often scared. And I remember my son used to put his hand on his ears. And, you know, when he went to primary school, he had to use an ear muff because he just couldn't take the noise. But in that house was when I started to gain my strength. It was in that house that I published my first book. And it was in that house that I started to realize that I needed to become more. I needed to stand up for myself. It was in that house that his agenda became very clear. So when my son was born, he was never present. I actually had registered my son in my name, and I didn't register my son in his name. I really didn't, because he was never there. He was not present, but also I didn't think he was deserving. And there's a really nasty thing about the law. When you're married to somebody, the laws change. And this is why I'm so cautious about marriage these days. And I remember that we're in that house and I'd launched my book, Bamboo and Fur, and I was in the papers and everything was exciting. And he couldn't celebrate me. Now, ladies, you've got to be very careful. And men, you've got to be aware when your partner cannot celebrate you. There is something to be said about a partner who cannot celebrate his or her partner. There is something there that you ought to watch when your partner cannot show up and your partner cannot celebrate you and your success and your victories. There is something to be said about that, and there's something for you to watch, and there's something for you to absorb in a space where your partner cannot show up and truly celebrate your success. And I really felt that he couldn't celebrate my success, and that was concerning. But it was more concerning when my friend wanted to come to our house for a barbecue and he would not allow him to come. It was a man and he created a big fuss. And what was really upsetting for me was that my friend had traveled miles to come to London to be at my house, to come and spend the day for the barbecue. And my ex-husband made it so difficult that I had to tell my friend, who was at the train station, that was only 10 minutes drive from my house, after he traveled 3 hours on a train, that he couldn't come. And that's the kind of controlling man he was. This is a man who didn't want you. He didn't want to spend his life with you. He didn't want a future with you. But he also didn't want you to have anybody else near you. And that was possession without a cause. That was unnecessary possession. But in the period of living in that house by myself, he would turn up and he would visit. And it later became very clear that when he visited, it was when he was rummaging through my stuff and he was collecting documentation that I later found out when we went to court. By the way, the man made love to me the Thursday. It was like a Thursday. We had an argument over childcare the Saturday. He left and we argued like we normally did. I emailed him and I texted him and I was upset. And you know, it's what couples do. Your email. And if you guys know how I text, any of you texts me, you understand how I text. And every now and then I have to consciously tell my mind not to text like that, because I text based on how my mind operates. I'm not doing that, boom, I'm coming later, boom. I don't sit down and write one text, which I have had to be learning to do. And I do find it difficult because my mind does not work like that. So I remember the night of the quarrel, I text him like how my mind works, which is how I've always texted him, one behind the other. But it's not because I'm harassing. It's not because I'm trying to harass you. It's how I text. And so I texted him and I emailed him. And I emailed him to express to him how I felt that he had treated me over the years. Now, if you have not watched volumes 1, 2, and 2, you need to go back to understand. And I know I was at my breaking point. I know I was at my last straw. And I emailed him and told him how deflated he made me, but how he absconded his responsibility as a man, and how I did not respect him and the way he was treating me. And the Monday, it was almost like the Thursday. So let's take today. Today is Monday. We had a quarrel today. I text him tonight into tomorrow, which we always have had. We've had a lot of quarrels, a lot of breakup. We've probably broken up 30 plus times and gone back together, right? And I text him like today, Monday, and Tuesday. And by Thursday, Friday, right, there was document from the courts in my house, which almost feels like the quarrel was orchestrated in an effort for him to have an escape. Now, you must remember that the October, so we're now in November, right? The October, we were talking a new house. The October, we're talking a new baby. Let me go back to the new house. The October, he was talking about us having a new baby. The October half term, I remember very specifically, my girlfriend Anna, I don't know if Anna is in this group, my girlfriend Anna and I were discussing a new house and discussing looking at another new house because he now felt like the house I was now in, second house, he couldn't be in because his name wasn't on the documentation. Can you see that? I miss those signs. I miss the signs that what difference does it make if the house is in my name or your name if we plan to stay together? Do you see that? Because under the law, eventually what I have becomes yours. And so he had an issue with me having my name on the house. So here I am again, another time. I am now about to move yet again because this man had an issue with the house. And so I found myself in the spiral of keep pleasing him. I kept pleasing him. I kept doing what he wanted. I kept being submissive because that's what African wives are supposed to do. I'm not African. I mean, as in, I'm African, but I've never been to Africa. I don't know what is expected, but I kept chopping and changing who I was, who I wanted to be, who I knew how to be, because genuinely I wanted to please him. I loved the man. I wanted to please him. I had a child with him. It felt right. And so I remember being in the house, and I remember we were talking about a new house. So I started looking at a new house because my husband doesn't like the house we're in. His name is not on the title. Okay, and let me say this to you. For anybody who's married to an African man, let me tell you straight. An African man's, I can't generalize, and I'm not saying there's nothing wrong. There's some amazing African men out there. But there's something different from how the Western woman behaves and how an African man expects you to behave. And I really think a lot of African relationships do not work because we're not cultured in how to treat African men. Their demands are different. What they expect is different. And I struggled to a point because nothing had prepared me for how to be there. And so if you know somebody's married an African man, please encourage them. There's an amazing client I have called Valerie Muzalenga. She's Zambian and she teaches across all African cultures. She's really good at preparing you to be the African bride or groom because their culture is so different. And I remember my ex-husband was in the house and we're talking about moving. And this man would lay in my bed. Now, this is where I don't make any apologies for it. I do not want to marry a man who speaks a different language from one I understand. I make no apologies about it. I don't care what anybody wants to say. I don't even stop to even contemplate your thoughts and ideology on that. Because the man would stay in the same bed with me in it as his wife with a ring on my finger, talking to his girlfriend, I later learned, in his language, scheming and planning what they're going to do. And I'm lying there and he's stroking my face, and he's stroking my hair, stroking my legs, stroking other places of my body. And I had absolutely no clue what was going on. Why? Because he was speaking a language I didn't understand. Let me say that again. I was in bed with my husband. It was my husband. I was legally married to him. But somebody had been spiritually and traditionally promised to him. And in the African culture, the person that is promised in tradition is who is the wife. I want you to get that. So I was there and that happened. And so I had no clue of all the things that he was saying. The man stayed in my bed, sometimes between my legs, and planned his escape, planned how to deal with me, and I had no clue. To the point where his visa came that I sponsored as his wife in my house. I had absolutely no clue. Okay? And we went to church and went to the pastor, and we were asking the pastor when is he gonna come? Let us pray. And we were adamant. We were praying like crazy to God for God to open the way. Hallelujah! Praise the Lord. We were going to church on Sunday. He would meet with the pastor, and when I was asking where is the visa, why is it not coming, I started buying African fabric. We're gonna go to Nigeria. I was gonna get everything I need, everything made, my ankara, everything. I was proper ready to submit myself. And then months passed and the visa hadn't turned up. So Ava decided to call the Home Office. And when I called the Home Office, oh my God, I was at my desk. Hi, this is Mrs. So-and-so. I'm just calling about my husband's visa. I just wondered, like, we have plans to travel to Nigeria, and I can't understand why his visa is taking so long. I'm trying to understand what is needed. Oh, you're Mrs. So-and-so? Yeah. Can you give me a reference number? Yeah, 567, whatever. Yeah, okay, let me hold. Oh, hi, Mrs. So-and-so. I'm so sorry to tell you, your husband got his visa X months ago. What did you say? He did what? He got his visa. Here's a reference number. Oh my gosh. Are you for real? You mean the man got the visa in my house and I didn't know because it came to my address? Yes, that's what happened. He got his visa under my nose in my house, and I was none the wiser. So all this time, he's there telling me, okay, that God's gonna fix it. And let me tell you something, nobody does God like my African brothers and sisters. God's gonna fix it. Hallelujah, praise the Lord. God is gonna fix it, don't worry about it. He had no plans to take me to Africa. I was a visa girl. I was a visa wife. And the day I confronted him about his visa, oh my God, it was me. I did something wrong. Everything about me was wrong. How dare me? And every time he was wrong, he would verbally assault me. Verbally, he would assault me. And I said to myself, Ava, these are signs, girlfriend. This man is not interested. The man has gotten his visa. He's now ready to leave. And I remember him being there saying, nope, I'm staying with you. I'm here to stay. I love you. I love my son. Okay, but I can't feel the love. You're not buying me a panty. You're not buying me a deodorant. You're not taking me out. I don't meet your family. How do you really love me? You're on the phone. You're talking in your language. We make love. You're going to the back garden when you're done. You're on the phone to somebody in 2 o'clock in the morning. You're picking an argument to leave, to go to your room. How do you actually love me? And so I started picking up the signs. And I remember saying to him in the November, you have to move in or else. Like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I know my brand was not being built. And my mother came and my mother said, no way. You cannot live like this. My mom came from Jamaica. She wasn't happy. She was like, nope. When I was here 2 years ago, you guys were not living together. You're not married. You must live together. And my mom put her foot down. And I just bought him a car the November. I just bought him his first car. He said that he wanted to help me more with the baby, but he didn't have a car. So homegirl, the dumpling, the fufu, the stupid comic girl, the puppet, Ava went and bought her husband a car because Ava needed help with the baby. And so Ava bought her husband a car so that he could help with the baby. Well, guess what? That man, 2 days, 3 weeks probably maximum of him getting the car, he literally took me to the court and he filed every single motion against me because we had an argument. Every motion he could find, he filed it. He said I had raped him. Now, this man was 6 foot tall plus. He said I had raped him. I had beaten him. I had abused him. I was cruel to him. The man said things I never heard of in my life. And the document that came from, the bundle that came from the court almost gave me a heart attack. I couldn't believe what I saw. I just thought, no, this is not real. Something's wrong. So I tried to call him and he didn't answer me. I was like, oh, this is really real. And then there was a court date, okay? And I remember calling a lawyer and I spoke to him and said, yep, this is real. So I end up in court. And I'm in court looking at my ex-husband thinking, no, there's something. We just made love like Thursday. Something is really wrong. The man didn't look at me. Are you for real? We were on the floor. Are you for real? No, can't be real. The man didn't look at me. And I stood there and I felt rejected all over again. It's this level of rejection. Like, you didn't just reject me again. Like, we have a baby. He's like a baby. And I remember, you're gonna laugh at me. I remember when I left court, one of those times I drove to his room because he had a room. And I never had a key for his house, that he had a room. and I'm his wife, legally married. And that was a sign. And I never could turn up without telling him I'm coming. And I said, no way. So I turned up on my own, no notice. And he wouldn't let me in. He wouldn't let the baby in. He wouldn't let me in. We were in the cold in the car. I insisted, I'm not leaving. I need to talk to you. I'm your wife. And he tricked me and said, okay, let's talk in the car. That means somebody's in the house, right? And he got into the car, and then he said, let's drive around. He drove me to my house. And then once I got to my house, he came out of the car and he ran. He never looked back. I was like, ooh, girl, you need some psychological evaluation. Because there's something wrong. You're cuckoo. You're mad. And in that time, I recognized that, yes, this is it. Something is wrong. And I'm going to fast forward this conversation to say that I ended up in court. I spent 26 months in court fighting this man. And I remember sitting in court, and he took a barrister. Now, a barrister costs on an average 500 to 1,000 pounds a day. And that floored me because remember, my ex-husband didn't have any money, right? I was sponsoring him for everything, right? He didn't have any money. He worked an odd job. He wasn't making enough money. So he doesn't, well, all this time, my ex-husband was saving up his money to go to court because he knew he needed to take me to court. And he went and got a Jamaican barrister, not just a Jamaican barrister, a Jamaican barrister, which is she operated just like me. Do you see the psychological strategy that he deployed? Now, the reason I'm sharing this story is that I don't know who I need to tell this. There's somebody in this group, I'm having this sense that there are persons in this group that either know somebody or they're in the group themselves that need to hear this. Not necessarily as it relates to an African person, but as it relates to look for the signs, check yourself. I wasn't checking myself. And I was in court and I realized he had a barrister that was paid a lot of money, and not just a barrister, but a Jamaican barrister. And that really floored me. I just couldn't conceptualize what I was seeing. And I remember being in court and thinking, no, we're going to work this out. So I'm there thinking that, nah, there's a mistake. Somebody has jujued him. Somebody has obia'd him. Somebody had black magicked him. That's my thought, by the way. That's how I felt comforted. This is not real. He's not. No. Somebody had done the same. And when the judge stood up and told me that if I understood that if I went near my husband, my then husband, ex-husband, if I spoke to him, if I tried to contact him, I could go to jail, was when the magnitude of what exactly was happening had hit me. I was so oblivious. I didn't understand how lovers, relationship, husband and wife took each other to court. So in my stupid little head, okay, none of it made sense. In my little head, it didn't make sense. In my little head, it's not real. And when the judge told me I could be arrested, that was when I understood the magnitude of the hell I was in. And I started taking it serious. So I fired my old lawyer because I was losing. And then I employed a new lawyer. And my God, the fire was on. And we were fighting. We were in court like this. It was like that because the man is fighting me for so many things that he came and found me with. Things he came and found me with, he wanted to fight me about. Okay, he never contributed to my mortgage. He never gave me money for myself. He was not fighting me over everything. And I was like, wow, damn, are you for real? And I remember we were in court, and this is when he broke me. He took out a recording that I never knew existed. And in the recording, this is the first I'm seeing it, it's in court. And there's a recording being pulled out in court. My ex-husband's barrister pulled out a recording that I'd never seen in my life, didn't know existed, didn't know was being recorded. And we're having a quarrel. And the man recorded our quarrel, but guess what? He didn't just record our quarrel. He had orchestrated the quarrel so that I could, and you know us women, some of us, we quarrel, like we quarrel. I don't, and we go on for hours. We do, because we're that kind of being. We're that kind of being. We talk. Plus, I'm also a chatterbox. So I'm talking. And the man was lying in a woman's bed. Did you hear that? That bitch was lying in another woman's bed, picking an argument with me, and then recording it. And so it was, the judge allowed it to be played because it was not evidence in court. Now, for those of you who are thinking, nah, it can't be, it's not admissible in court, because no, it can be admissible in court. I didn't know it existed. I didn't know it was being recorded, but the judge permitted it to be. And I was in court, and I heard the recording being played. And I must tell you that the things that were said in that court, hey Maria, the things that were said in that court on that recording, you could tell that he had staged every bit of it. Because the judge said to him, with all due respect, it is evident that this is staged. Can you imagine? Even the judge could see that it was staged. And I couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe the low life man that I had married. But I saw the signs and I missed them. I saw how he treated me. I saw how he lied to me. I saw how he would come back and cry and beg. I saw how he would not look after me. I saw how he didn't respect me. But there was something in me that just was not good enough. And there's something in me that was broken. And there was something in me that needed that toxic love. And there's something in me that needed that toxic validation. And there's something in me that was so out of sync that I could really sit there and take that. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you no, because there was something in me that was so broken. There was something in me that was so broken that allowed a man to treat me like that. Like I was his doormat. I was his footstool. I was the girl who thought that's the way to love an African man. You kept begging him, and oh my God, I became this beg. Oh, please don't leave me. Please don't go. Please don't leave me. Please don't. I was told, please don't leave me. Please, I'm begging. That was me. Seriously. Believe it or not, that was Ava. And the court went on for a long time. And in the process of that court, I lost my house. My own house. I could no longer, it was between paying for a barrister. So I fired my own barrister, got a new one who was really good. And there's a contest he applied for my son. He wanted full custody of my son. He said I was mentally unwell. Oh my God, like Jesus of mercy. God, as I pause this minute, may you meet that man on his journey in the real, in the physical, in 3rd of February. Father God, may you bring every wickedness he did me to his face. Let them come up in front. Let them bother his conscience. May he come and repent, Jesus. That man took me, okay? That man, oh my God, that man fought me for my son. He said I was mentally unwell. He said I was not good to my children. In the court was the first time I could see that that man had the title deed for my house. He had my daughter's birth certificate. Where the hell did you get those from? You've never been given them. How did you get these? When he was coming to my house, he was going through my stuff, okay? So he was building this case for years. He came to court. He demanded that my son's name be changed to his, although he was never present for the birth. He demanded my son's passport was changed. And the stupid legal system permitted these things to happen, okay? And then the part that nearly killed me, and I can't talk about it without crying. He put a ban called a prohibited step order that said I cannot leave the United Kingdom, 4 boxes, 4 corners, London, England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland. I cannot leave the United Kingdom with my son that I have been caring for since he was a child. And let me tell you something, people, that nearly killed me. Because I felt like I wanted to kill him. I felt like, how could you? Like, how could you do that? Like, what gives you the right Like how? You don't see the child, you don't look after the child, you don't look after me, you've not been involved, you don't take him to party, you don't read stories, you don't take him to the hospital, you don't take him to school, you don't pay his fees, you're not there. How the hell does the law allow this to happen? But it did. And I wanted to die. And when all this was going on, I was coaching. Rose, I was coaching you. I was a coach. I was a speaker. I was going out to the world and I was putting the best foot forward. And every time I did a Facebook Live, it was about me. Every time I did a post, I was trying to encourage myself. I would cry on my friends in the night. I would come on Facebook and I show a strong, brave ass face. And then I would cry on my friends. I would call Audrey and I would cry. I would call Sonia. I was broken. How could you do this to me? Like how could you do this to me? And I lost my house because now it was war. I now saw that it was war. And I was now paying for the barrister, not paying the mortgage. I hardly was functioning at work, so there was no money. My coaching business was dying because I was not present. And my kids were just in the abyss. And I remember the judge convicted me of harassment of my ex-husband. I couldn't believe it. I had to pay a fine. And I was given all these orders and I appealed it. And let me tell you what the man did to show you what he was up to. The day I was convicted of harassment, the very same day I appealed. The very same day, he applied to the Home Office and claimed that I was domestically violent to him, and he used that to get his visa to stay in the United Kingdom. Shall I repeat that? Although the appeal had not yet been heard, the same application, boom, he took that and ran and he got his stay. He got his green card, as you Americans say. He got his stay. And the appeal was heard, I think 2 months later, and it was overthrown that I was innocent. But what difference did it make? He got his paper and he called a friend of mine and he bragged on her that he was now settled in the United Kingdom, and he went on and he bragged about his stay. And then he took me to court now, different court case. And he started fighting me for a DNA test for my son. The same son he used at first to stay in this country. He then took me to court and started fighting me for a DNA test. And I did the test. And I took my son. He was 6.5. A very intelligent 6.5, going 7 years old child. And I had to explain to him what was going to be happening. We're going to go to the doctors. And can I just be honest with you guys? I looked for every way to rig that DNA test to say that my son was not his. And I was content with that. That if I could find a way to just lie, if I could find a way that my son was not his, I would be content with that. I was ready to take that risk if I could find a way. Because I wanted him gone. I wanted him out of my life. I wanted that burden. I wanted that deceit. I wanted that pain. I wanted that control. I wanted that evil. I wanted that dirt, that filth. I wanted that thing to be out of me. I wanted to get rid of that pain. So I remember calling friends and asking them, how can I make sure that I rig the DNA test? How could I rig a DNA test? How could I send another child instead of my son? Because in that moment, I was prepared to be able to tell my son later on why I had lied. Because I think it would have been the best thing for us. But I couldn't, because You had to bring ID. And nobody wanted to rig the DNA test. So I took my son and I explained to my son that we're going for a DNA test. And he asked me, as he does, he's a very, very intelligent boy, Mommy, what's a DNA test? Why do we need to do one? And I had to explain to him that Daddy wants to just be sure that you're his son. And he's like, but why would Daddy not believe I'm his son, right? And I remember sitting in the doctor's office and the doctor swabbed my son's mouth. And I had no problem. I knew it was his son. I'm not the girl to sleep around. A lot of you don't know me personally, but I'm a really well-behaved girl. And the people who know me very close know that I'm the girl who goes 4 years without sex. I'm the girl who, I'm well-behaved. I don't play like that. So I never had a problem doing the DNA test. And I remember the judge saying, you're very certain? I said, I'm very certain. And that was one of my lowest points when I had to take my son through that, right? Because he remembers it like it was yesterday. And I remember it was a year so here's the crazy part. He can't pay me for his child. Like, he can't pay proper maintenance, but he could find £600 to pay for a DNA test because he was not about to get married, like his white wedding to his wife, who was in waiting all along, right? In my opinion. And he was not about to get married to his wife, and she didn't want, in African culture, a boy is everything. And I had the first boy, well, so I think. And she didn't want that. So I remember it was Valentine's Day, Valentine's week, and they went to Africa to get married. I remember that. And the DNA test results came, and I was so excited. And I believe he got the result just before his wedding. And I remember it came back and it said 99.999%. And I wasn't excited because I knew the answer. I knew that he was the only man I had. I knew I wasn't sleeping with anybody else. I know I'd given him like some of the best parts of my life. I know I'd been committed when he met me. I was single for years. My daughter was 10. I was single. Like, you know, I'd been on my own for a long time. And I never heard back from him. He never, and I remember we ended up back in court. I didn't hear back from him for over a year, right? He got his results, he knew the answer, and you'd have thought the man would want to see his child, right? So we ended up back in court, and we were talking about contacts, because the contact order had not been set. And I remember the judge said, you haven't seen your child for a very long time. When next do you want to see your son? And he placed it for 6 weeks down the road. Can you imagine that? And let me tell you something, guys. The hardest part for me in this process has been the rejection for my son. The rejection to know that your dad is the way he is about you, that you have a father who clearly doesn't really care that much. It's that part that I find hard. And if you question his father, he will tell you that I've kept him from him. But I used to go to contact center for 2 years straight. And I would sit there in my car and Daddy would not show up. And I felt the rejection. So I can imagine my son. And I would log in on Facebook just because I want to have a record that I came. Or I would have to go and talk to somebody at the front desk to say, I'm here. Just to log. And Daddy would never show up. And Daddy hasn't shown up for a while. And I've raised my son all by myself. And it's been tough. It's been so difficult because his needs are different. And, you know, if I date somebody, he gets so excited. I remember I was dating somebody and he got so excited because he just wants a male figure. And even if the relationship is not working, my son doesn't care. He just wants a male figure in his life. And so for me, guys, it's like this. I've gotten to the place in my life where I'm single and I do get lonely because I'm human. But I also know that it is so difficult after you've been through what I've been through. It's such a hard thing to compromise. and to just pick up the first man that comes along, even if he has the red flags. Nowadays, I'm so aware of red flags. I'm very in tune to them. I look out for them. There's some things I can never do. I can never marry another African man, and it's not because they're not lovely people. It's purely because for me personally, I can't go back there. It's for me personally, I just guard myself that way. When you have had low self-esteem, when you've had yourself in the lowest parts of your life, it is not the best time to enter a relationship. So some of the things I've learned and some of the things I missed how he treated me. And I accepted that because of how my father treated me. I missed understanding what I should expect from him because I didn't have any expectations and nobody taught me what to expect. The sex was great, and in that moment, everything else felt okay until he'd be angry and cuss you and call you an ashewo, which is a prostitute in Nigerian language, or he would tell me that I underestimate him and one day I would pay. And ladies, you have to understand to listen to the things your partner says, or men, listen to the things your partner say, rather. And you have to watch the jealousy balance. You have to watch when your partner can't celebrate your success. You have to watch the compatibility of you and somebody else. And for me, I'd say you have to watch the cultural differences because they can become some of your biggest problems and roadblocks. And his family was never supportive. They were never involved. You know, my son doesn't know his grandmother. He doesn't know his grandfather. He doesn't know his uncles. He doesn't know his aunties. And can I tell you the worst part? I was married to a man that I know nothing about. Total stranger. I don't know if his name was what it was. I don't know if he was the age he said it was. I don't know if he was from where he said he was from. I married a total stranger who went to church every Sunday, praised the Lord, clapped his hands, and I married a stranger. I do not know if my son's surname is correct. I do not know if the man I married is who he said he was. I don't know if he was in the UK as long as he said he was, or probably longer. I don't know anything about him. What I do know about him is he's cruel. What I do know about him is he's really wronged me and my son and my daughter. What I do know about him is that he's missed out on an amazing child. He's missed out on reading bedtime stories to a really amazing kid. What I do know is that he missed out on a good woman. But if forget me, because that's not about me. He missed out on seeing his son grow into a man. And he's missed out on treating, but then he probably couldn't teach my son anything because he himself did not know how to treat me. And so in that, I strive to make sure as best as I can that my son is the sort of man that when he grows up, women are gonna think, oh my God, your parents did a great job. I really try to have my son understand the value that respect in a woman is, whether it's your teacher, your auntie, respect human beings as a whole. But I really am just so cognizant of having my son understand the value that he can place and the difference maker he can make in a woman's life, in his children's life, and in his mom's life. And my son's one of the most caring little boys I've ever seen. Like, he's so overprotective of mom and he's so caring. And sometimes that bothers me and it's a struggle for me. But let me say something to you, ladies. Don't miss the signs. I'm not saying that relationships cannot be worked out. I'm saying don't miss the signs. I'm saying whatever your self-esteem issues are right now, let's get them fixed. before you enter a relationship. Don't go in a relationship broken, because when men can smell broken, women can smell broken. Men and women, I'm talking to women and men. I normally say women because I work with mainly women, and there are more women here active in the group than there are men. I want to say hi to Neville, who has watched the live. I really appreciate you. But don't go in there broken. Go in there wholesome, because when you go in there broken, people can sense the vulnerability, right? They can see the loopholes, and they prey on that. And I lost everything. I remember sitting down, losing everything. Everything. I don't mean losing some things. I lost everything. The only thing I had left when this marriage ended, this man came into my life. I had 2 homes. I had a house in Jamaica. I had money in the bank when he met me. And when he left me broke, in overdraft, with a child who I was looking after, lost all my homes, sold the Jamaica house, used the Jamaica house money to pay for daycare for my son because he wasn't helping me. And when he went to court, he told the court that we lived together, that he contributed immensely, and the courts believed him. And the court never asked, how much is this, how much is that? He just said, this is what I can afford to pay for my son. And the money he pays cannot do anything much. But it's not even about the money, it's your presence. You know, some kids rather the presence than the present. And I lost everything. I went to ground zero because of this man. Ground zero. So ladies, those of us who have assets, protect your assets before you get married. Those of us who have money, protect your money before you get married. And men too. Men, protect yourselves. Because people come into your lives, and nowadays there are some serious good times tricksters out there. They come into so many forms and shapes and sizes, and we miss it. We miss it because the thing about England as well that I don't like, if I were in Jamaica, I would never be single. It's not possible. It is not possible. England has this thing that makes you single, and I don't understand why. I don't know, it's like you're single. It's just how it is. One of the other things he did, he preyed on single women with children. So he knew that you were vulnerable, and he never had any intention to settle with a woman who was outside of his culture. So I just really hope that this might help somebody here. When a man wants a visa, or a woman, they don't care. They will put on the show. They'll put on the pretense. They will not care the lengths that they need to go to get what they need. And you are just going to be the vehicle that they use to get there. And trust me, they will get married to you. They will introduce you to their friends and family. They will take you to Africa. Some of them, they'll come to the UK. They'll do everything in the moment. And they will ride it out. And let me tell you something. They will ride it. And I'm not just saying African. So if I say African, that's because of that, my experience. It happens in every culture. Okay? Just be careful. Have your eyes wide open. And don't go in it broken. That's all I want to share tonight. I hope that helps somebody. If your self-esteem is low, if your self-confidence is low, if your self-worth is low, if your self-value is low, and your forgiveness piece. So how have I dealt with my forgiveness? I've forgiven him. Some of the bits that I cry is because I'm hurt. Not hurting, but I've been hurt by it, and they bring back some really painful bits. And it doesn't mean that I've not forgiven. It just means that forgiveness doesn't mean that, something doesn't, evoke an emotion when you come back on it. And Audrey is probably the best person who is oh my God, I just got a message that I'm meant to be with Rose Foster. Oh my God. Rose, I am so sorry. In my head, it is the 4th. Whew. Oh my God. Rose, you're going to chop me up, honey. Oh my God. Rose, you're going to go to bed now. Oh my God. Rose, are you going to bed? Okay. Rose, send me some other time. Sarah just sent me a message and said, oh my God, I should have been with Rose. Rose, okay, I'm going to make it up to you big time. And forgiveness doesn't mean that when you remember certain things, they're not going to leave a peace in your mind and your body, your spirit. It just means that, you know, you have to know that you have to work it through. So those are, yeah, Carol from Jamaica, yeah. So you can't go into a relationship broken. Look for the signs. Don't jump into a relationship. Do your due diligence. Be careful of protecting your assets. So many of us don't protect our assets when we go into a relationship. Get your children to check them out. My daughter knew from day one he was bad news. I just thought she was just a jealous teenager. Your children often can sense and they often can know. Trust me. Your children often can sense. Oh, Rose, I'm so sorry. I just got a ping from Sarah like, Ava, you're meant to be with Rose. I'm so sorry. It's not my normal. I'm thinking it's the 4th. Rose, ping me some dates this week. I will jump on. Don't worry. Your children often know. Don't be afraid to get your family and friends involved. Don't miss the signs. Don't push them to the back of your head, because the signs you see today will only magnify tomorrow. Don't be the one who's overly hot overhead with the man. Let the man show some, or the woman. It needs to be two-way. And don't overcompromise. Don't push yourself to the back to make somebody else shine in a relationship. Don't. Watch how he or she respects you. Watch how they talk to you. Watch how what do they take you out? You know, watch how long they take to come back to you. Watch the language. I cannot marry a man who speaks another language. It's just not possible. English only, or patois, nothing else. You speak another language. Yeah, there you are, Carol. You speak another language, you could be in bed plotting to kill me. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that helps somebody. I'm done. And let me tell you what happened out of it, though. Hold on. You have to hear. So out of that, listen to me. Out of that pain, I gave birth to this product. Audrey, put the link here. Shakai, let me put the link here. Out of that pain, I gave birth to a business, because when I was I was so hurt, I was so broken. I remember wanting to drive and run my car into a lamppost, okay? I'm just keeping it real. I remember wanting to drop my car in a lamppost. I was so hurt. I was embarrassed. I was thinking that people are going to say, I am the problem. Why can't you keep a man, girl? What is wrong with you? Every man you talk to, something is wrong. And I started blaming me that something was wrong with me. Well, there ain't nothing wrong with me. I'm perfectly whole. I just refuse to settle for less than I really am. Okay? There's nothing wrong with me. So I'm dropping the link here. So out of that, I started my own brand of body products. And we actually got nominated for an award this year. And really what it truly is, and some of my clients are on here, we make handmade body and hair and skin butter. So this is the mango one, but we have different flavors. We've got chocolate, we've got lemon, we've got vanilla, we've got coconut, we've got watermelon. And we sell throughout the whole of Europe and the US. And so let me tell you how it started. So when he left me and I was thrown into court and I was struggling and life was hard and everything, I basically started making these body butters, not for any other reason, but therapeutically. It was just seeing that butter churn. It was so therapeutic for me. And as the butter melted, it's like I was churning away my own sorrow. And then I had to move from London to Northern Ireland. I moved because I needed headspace, and life was just going at a place where I just was struggling emotionally and mentally. And my daughter was ill and life was just caving in. And I just said, I need a break. My health was suffering, and I had to step back and I had to rebuild myself. And when I came here, there was an opportunity to get some funding from the bank, and I was the first one to be successful in that. And I started this brand, and I must tell you that it's been amazing. I just shipped some stuff to Birmingham, again, my favorite place, tonight. And, you know, we're really doing well. Check out the website. I told you there how we started and why we started, because I wanted to see the journey. So it's not been all bad. There's been pain to purpose. And I believe in the pain to purpose stuff. I believe that out of every pain we can find purpose. I believe that we can recycle our pain. I believe that it is up to us to decide how we use our pain. I believe that I'm still looking for a nice, decent Jamaican man. Carol, do you know what? I'm looking for a nice man. So guys, let me just put it out there. I'm looking for a nice black guy, preferably in the UK, who wants to move to Northern Ireland. There's greatness to be had here. But he doesn't have to want to move here. I'm looking for a nice guy who is a Christian, a nice guy who's gonna love me and cherish me like I will. I have so much to give to a man, like so much, like just so much of me and so much of who I am and my essence and my grace. And I'm not perfect, okay? I have got a lot of annoying ways, right? One of that being I've been on my own for too long, and I've been allowed to just carry a lot too much. But thank you, Carl, for being a client of Shakai. Thank you, Audrea, for being a client. Thank you, Rose, for being a client. Can I just call out my clients? Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And all of you all go check us out. But I'm still looking, and I'm so open to talking to guys now, because I rather talk. One of the things I never used to do is to talk to a lot of different guys. I just believe that no. Now I'm happy to talk. I'm happy to date. I'm happy to talk to different guys, because there's nothing wrong with dating. Dating is healthy, and I'm not gonna settle this time. I'm not. I'm 44 this year. I'm a big girl. My birthday is in like 3 weeks. So for all of you, I want to give me birthday gift. Just let me tell you where to send it, please. But I'm content. Would my life be completed with a guy? Yeah, not completed, but complemented. It would be nice to have somebody to go to bed with at night. It would be nice to have somebody who is permanent in my life. But I just can't compromise. I just can't settle for. I'm a big talker. I want a guy who communicates. I want a guy who's thoughtful. I want a guy who thinks about my children, who thinks about me, is thoughtful in his actions and deeds. He doesn't have to be told how to look after me and to be kind. I'm not looking for a guy who's necessarily rich, but okay, if you come with money, I ain't gonna tell you no. But just the skills that you have as a human being are what are necessary for me. So guys, let me know who this has helped. Please look out for the signs as you climb the career ladder, and women and men alike, you know, just be careful, just be vigilant, do due diligence, and comment below if this has helped you. I'm gonna put it on my podcast. So for those of us who don't know, I'm gonna put it in the group. They're on my podcast, so I put these on my podcast, and I'm gonna share the other link here so you can see that. My podcast has got it's on my podcast, and I really want you to go and check out my podcast, because on my podcast there's so much content around other things. So I'm going to share this. I share the marriage series on my podcast, because I really believe that it can help somebody, and all of the talks we've had here are on my podcast. So please feel free to go and share with a friend. Please feel free to go and use it. And so I'm going to drop the link here for the podcast, and you can check them out. So thank you much for watching. Thank you for listening. Audrey and I have a course coming up. It's called Amplify Your 2020. Please understand that there's going to be a circle of elevation that's going to be coming from that. Some people you're going to be invited to join. It's not for everybody, okay? So watch out for that. And there'll be a membership to it, so you can have a membership service. And we're going to talk about it soon. So thank you much for everyone. Good night, and thank you for being in the group. Let me know what your takeaways are from your biggest takeaway from my series and let's talk again soon. Bye for now. Good night.